And we're kicking off with The Rock, as it was earlier this year that he informed WWE that he wouldn't be ready for a match with Roman Reigns, disappointing fans who wanted to see the Great One in action. More recently, The Rock has been trading barbs online with Grayson Waller, stemming from Waller's in-ring debut at MSG, but is a match between the two a possibility? When Ringside News asked around, they were told by a source in WWE that for all the talk between the two, there's nothing for Waller and The Rock right now. With that said, The Rock is said to be hurting for positive publicity after a series of setbacks, so the idea of him returning to wrestling isn't impossible. The XFL has not exactly been the smash hit Johnson was hoping on, while his Black Adam was a flop at the box office and his Young Rock TV series was canceled just a few weeks ago. The Rock wants some good press, and a return to wrestling would do just that, and while nothing is planned for him right now, he could one day share the ring with Grayson Waller. Waller has had plenty to say over the past week or so about The Rock, but now the cocky Aussie has turned his attention to arguably the Brahma Bull's greatest adversary. On Twitter, Waller shared footage from his match on this week's SmackDown, specifically a spot in which he used a rolling stunner, and claimed that Waller316 says it was the best stunner of all time. This is, of course, a nod to Stone Cold Steve Austin, another legend from the past that WWE is hoping to have compete again, following his impressive outing at WrestleMania 38 last year. It was around this time last year that WWE began trying to court the Rattlesnake into a match at this year's WrestleMania, with Brock Lesnar and even Roman Reigns being offered as opponents. As we approached WrestleMania 39, it was reported that Austin did have some ideas of his own, but ultimately his busy TV filming schedule meant he wouldn't be able to appear to build towards a match. Austin didn't wrestle at WrestleMania 39, but perhaps Waller's tease this week could lead to something down the line. And would you like to see the Australian face the Bionic Redneck? Sound off in the comments. On SmackDown, Bayley has been feuding with Shotzi and has also been teasing a split with Io Sky, so it's safe to say that the role model has been busy as of late. Many expect it's just a matter of time before Bayley and Sky turn on each other and Damage Control implode, but now the former Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion has suffered a setback. PW Insider reports that Bayley suffered what appeared to be a knee injury at last night's WWE Live event in Salisbury, Maryland, during her match with Charlotte Flair and Asuka. The injury was so bad that the match had to be halted and Bayley had to be assisted from the ring by WWE officials, and PW Insider were told by sources that this situation is entirely legitimate. On social media, Bayley shared an update saying she'll be alright, as well as her knee, which had been heavily taped, but did not speak about whether she'll miss any in-ring time. This injury comes at a very unfortunate time for Bayley, as on this week's SmackDown, Shotzi continued their feud with an intense video which saw the tattooed superstar shave her head. It was an ACL injury mere days before the return of fans in 2021 that led to Bayley missing over a year of in-ring time, and we'll keep following this situation as more updates come out. For some time now, Don Callis has had an intense hatred of Kenny Omega, a far cry from when the pair were allies, and this feud has spilled over out of AEW. During AAA's TripleMania 31 Tijuana event last weekend, Omega challenged Vikingo for the AAA Mega Championship, and Callis got more than he bargained for when he showed up. During a post-show press conference, Omega confronted Callis, but was attacked from behind by Konosuke Takeshita, starting a brawl which was all part of the plan. As security was breaking up the fight, that was when an individual attacked Callis from behind, seemingly upset about the in-kayfabe things Callis had said about Omega. Don was left pretty worse for wear after, with his suit being torn, an eardrum concussed, and was busted open from the mouth as the fan choked him from behind. After security was able to stop this attack, Callis was yelling profanities at the person, and with his neck and ankle injured in the attack, was taken to San Diego to undergo medical analysis. While at first believed to have been a fan, it has since been reported that this was actually a member of security who was not clued in on the segment and believed Don was attacking Omega for real. This attack prompted Conan to step in and defuse the situation, and at this time, Callis' status for this week's Blood and Guts episode of AEW Dynamite remains unclear. Callis may be a dastardly heel on screen, but that doesn't excuse what happened to him in Tijuana, and we'll keep following this worrying situation for further updates. In June 2007, Chris Benoit took the life of his wife Nancy and son Daniel before taking his own life in a tragedy that would rock the wrestling world for years to come. This tragedy would of course shake the life of David Benoit, Chris's remaining son, who was able to share a tender moment during the latest episode of AEW Collision. Last Saturday's show saw CM Punk lose to Ricky Starks in the finals of the men's Owen Hart Foundation tournament, and post-match, Punk could be seen hugging David at ringside. This was certainly a touching moment between the two, especially as David has remained a wrestling fan and has often spoke about one day entering the ring himself. Despite his dream, many feel that simply being associated by his father will mean promotions will be hesitant to book David despite him having nothing to do with Chris's actions in 2007. Whether David ever gets the chance to become a wrestler, only time will tell, but this interaction with Punk made for quite the moment during the latest episode of AEW Collision. Last week, news broke of a list of moves that AEW has banned, while other moves and spots will now require specific permission from higher-ups before they happen on TV. It was reported at the time that several AEW stars are far from happy with this list, believing it to be overreach by the company, but now more has come to light about this set of rules. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer delved into the list and said that the banning of seizure cells, such as what Bryan Danielson does, was a decision specifically because of him, and nobody in AEW thought the cell was a good idea in the first place. It was also noted that when constructing this list, Tony Khan met with Chris Nowinski, the former WWE superstar whose career was cut short due to concussions, and has since dedicated his life to ensuring safety in wrestling. Nowinski's studies into CTE has helped transform wrestling, as more is known than ever about the effect of shots to the head, and he is considered something of an unsung hero to the wrestling world. Meltzer added that while this official list is only a recent thing, that many of these moves already required permission, so this isn't as massive a change to AEW as some may believe. It is believed that the overall level of violence on AEW TV won't change all that much and should hardly be noticeable. But what do you think of this list by Tony Khan? Sound off in the comments. And we're ending today with news from Impact Wrestling, as Eric Young made his return to the promotion last week at Slammiversary. The former TNA World Champion returned and reunited with Team Canada ally Scott D'Amore, but for many, Young's return was a bigger surprise than Impact expected. It was in late 2022 that news broke that Young had re-signed with WWE, with rumors more recently that he was going to be a part of the Wyatt Six faction. So what exactly happened to his comeback? Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reports that Young has been gone from WWE for some time and immediately requested to be let go following the WWE Endeavor deal was announced in early April. Young was said to be absolutely against the idea of taking orders with Vince McMahon and cited moral, creative, and personal reasons as for his opposition to WWE's executive chairman. It is believed that the moral reasons behind Young not wanting to work with McMahon stems from McMahon's sexual harassment hush money scandal, as Young only agreed to return during the time that McMahon was retired. Fightful's report did confirm the reports that WWE had something planned for EY on TV, but it wasn't clarified if it was the Wyatt Six faction, the rumored revamped Sanity, or something else entirely. It'll be interesting to see what Young does next now that he's with Impact Wrestling again, as his WWE return did not go as planned, and don't expect to see him make another return to WWE as long as McMahon is running the show.